Hi, this is a video that'll show you how to take a model you've created in Fusion 360 and view it in Apple's new augmented reality capability announced earlier this year. You'll see on the screen, this is a view from an iPhone 7 with iOS 12, and you'll see how it can actually place the 3D model in space, scale it, spin it around, and you can actually walk around and see it in very realistic augmented reality mode. This uses some of the capabilities of Apple's new capability announced in the latest developers conference in iOS 12. And we're going to use a 3D design tool called Vectory to convert that model into a object that Apple understands and we can show on a website like you see here. So let's get started. So we're going to start with Vectory. I'm going to assume you've already signed up for a free license. And we're going to get started and look at their dashboard here. Vectory is a 3D modeling tool. You can actually develop a pretty sophisticated model, but you can also bring in models. And they have models that you see on the bottom of the screen here that for a fee you can adapt and use in your model if you desire. What we're going to use is the ability to bring in an object that we've created in Fusion 360, and we're going to import that as an OBJ file. We can also import as an STL file, but an OBJ is what I happen to have handy. If you run into a problem where your model's too big, you may want to put it in an OBJ in an STL file and then save it at a lower resolution. But this model has been brought in as an OBJ file. You'll see the pumpkin is there. Now I've got to do some adjustments here, but I'm showing you some capabilities of moving around the design space in Vectory. If you can zoom in and out, as you could imagine. The left mouse button pans from left to right. The right mouse button rotates around the space. If you hit Tab, you can move to the orthogonal faces of the model that you see here. And then they have these gizmos that you can rotate to move your model in space. We're not going to get into all the details of Vectory, but we're going to use the ones that make sense for us. We're going to really use Vectory to color and put texture on the pumpkin and then save it in a format that Apple requires. So to get this looking good, we're going to make it a little bit bigger. You can see all the different ways you can move in space here. There is a button called proportional scale, which we're going to make this pumpkin just a little bigger so that when it pops in to the Apple space, it's a little more life-size. What Apple's doing is making it where their augmented reality actually uses as a truest scale as you can find. So you do want to start with an object that is scaled pretty realistically. So this is what it looks like. Obviously, I'm looking at an unrendered image, but that helps me, make sure I can, get the scale and the size as I want. And that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to come down here on the lower right and toggle my object file. So now I can look at each of the bodies that I created when I created my original model. So you'll see I have the 4 bases. Actually, one was more of a construction object that I didn't really need in the final, so I'm going to delete that and just end up with the 3 different bodies of my object that I want to use. And I'll use the different bodies to put an appearance on each one. Now I can turn on rendering, which will now show the model in a rendered space. Clearly there's no color. I didn't bring any color over in the object file in this case, so we're going to use the Vectory's color and texture capabilities to make the pumpkin look a little more realistic. Now I selected top and body on the left using the command key so that I could color them at the same time. And I went over on the right and I just typed in a hex color for orange. You can select whatever color you want, obviously. And then I'm selecting the stem object on the left, and now I'm going to color that with another color, and that looks pretty good. So I've basically completed the coloring here. Before I finish, I want to add a little more of the Vectory capabilities. I'm going to put a little more of an environment in that has some lighting around the pumpkin, because this will be helpful in the final creation. I'm also going to put a light inside the pumpkin, which in this case it just pops up almost right where you want it. But let me show you kind of how that looks. You can see where the light source is in 3 dimensions right there. And if you really wanted to see it with a little more clarity, you can turn off some of the model components. You can see exactly where that is. So that looks pretty good. I can adjust the intensity of the light as well. And that'll be nice when you actually view it in an augmented reality. The light will be there. So that looks pretty good. I think I'm almost done. I'm going to go ahead and name my project so that I can keep track of it. You can name it whatever you like. I'm going to save it. Takes a few seconds. And now this is where why we're using Vectory. We're going to actually export this as a 3D file, but we're going to save it in the new format that Apple has designed, USDZ. That's their new format for augmented reality that they're promoting for game development and shopping and all the rest. This will give us a nice, the code and the model in a format that we can use in an augmented reality capability. So it's done. So now what you'll do is you'll get an email from Vectory with some information of how you can embed that in a web page. So this is what the email will look like. You can go ahead and click on Take Me There, and you'll view a web page from Vectory that'll actually have your model viewable in a augmented reality. If you view this page, if you send this email to your phone and you have the iOS 12 and Safari linked, you can actually tap on the model and move right into the augmented reality view to see your model. So now let's do one more thing. Let's go back into the Vectory design tool and duplicate that project. We're going to create another pumpkin with a little different finish on it. So just as an example. So now I've duplicated the project. And now I'm going to come in here and look at the 3 different parts of my pumpkin body and look into the material at the bottom of the Vectory design tool and just play around and see what potential tools I want to, or finishes or materials I want to use. There's certainly some that you can just play around with. So let's see if we can do some unique design. Let's type in, since there's so many, we'll type in glossy and see what kind of materials are available there. Let's see if we can find a nice orange or green that we can use. Of course, you can use anything you want. All right, so I've selected the body up on the left, so now when I click on the deep orange glossy, it applies that material to the body. Actually, I'm going to do that to the top as well. And now I'm going to find a leaf green that I can apply to the stem. So I select I need to select the stem up on the left. And now I can select that material. And that's basically it. So now I've got a new finish on my object, which looks pretty good. Now, of course, with a glossy finish, it might be nice to have a little more of a dramatic lighting in there. So let's use Vectory's lighting capabilities. We're going to pick a spotlight and put that in the environment. So now you can see it's in there. It's noted on the left as a spotlight. Just to make sure you see what's there, I turned off the point light that was inside, and now I can move the spotlight outside my pumpkin, and then adjust the direction and location. So you can see where the spot showing kind of low on the pumpkin, so you can use the rotation capabilities to really spot that at the right location that you like. And there you go. So now we could actually export that again as a new project, and you know, have at least another option for our augmented reality.